Welcome back, everyone, to Bear's Workshop. We are here for the 140th flyover of the Lucid factory in Casa Grande, Arizona. Welcome back, everyone. It's been a couple days, but we're here. Hey, what do you mean someone poked the bear? It's 4:45. I'm right on time. Bam. Nailed it. All right, well, we got today's video all lined up for you. We will be having a Nikola video put out shortly after this one. So stay tuned for that also. While we're waiting for the slackers to get here, we will go ahead and take a look at the stock price, what we closed at yesterday, which was $14.23. So we will be taking care of that. If you guys could hold on one second, we will got to take care of some business going on here, and we will take a look at everything. Just got a tweet that, or a text message that had to be taken care of. All right, that should take care of that. And if my moderator can follow up on that, that would be awesome. We have it's a nice video for you, but first, while we're waiting for everyone, we need to get the stock price stock. Oh, we got 69 people on 70. You guys are awesome. Go ahead and hit that like button while you're waiting. So yesterday we closed at 14.23, or up 44 cents. That was up over 3%, a high of 14.30. So closed pretty close to the high of the day. It was as down as low as 13.65. Opened at 13.79, so did a little bit of a drop and came back up and came back. Nikola was pretty much in the same boat yesterday. Started off a little down, came back up, and then it closed at 323. So a good day for both of the two stocks that we tend to monitor obsessively around here. So that is good news. Let's get the video started, because I see we have a bunch of people already on, and that's great. And we're going to go ahead and get right into that. Today's flyover was brought to you by Riley again, who went out there, got that done. I was fetching cars back and forth to Phoenix all day today. So we did manage to squeeze this in and get this taken care of for you. Now you can see over here, right about here, this is where they're parking the cars now. It's not that they've moved them from up here or from anywhere else. It's just that's where they have room for them right now. And you can see we're going to zoom in on that. That's where we got today's screenshot from. And let's see what we got. We get close enough that we can see colors on these cars. You definitely can see the reds, the silvers very clearly, where previously in the past, because of our angle in the sun, we're not able to see it. So that looks pretty good. And we see all the cars are stacking up over here. I didn't count them. Just too much time to count all these cars, because there's cars over here, there's cars over there, there's cars everywhere. Yes, Martin, Lucid needs to get the rail line up and running. That's just not going to be an easy task, though I bet they wish they had started that a little bit sooner. Though I don't know how much of an issue that would be with permitting and things like that. So let's see. As we go down here, you can see that they're continuing the grading for the paving, and the paving has also progressed. Lots of work has been done on that paving. And I imagine the coming weeks we'll see some striping going down there. but they are still heading towards the north end. That's going to be where the entrance is right there. You can see that it's still fenced off. Maybe you can see it, but there's a fence right there so that nobody goes through this. And this is all ready to be paved. You don't put all this aggregate down unless you're ready to get the paving done. And then here's a look out here. This area over here, we've got stuff being stored. This is the area where they used to clean out the concrete trucks, but it doesn't look like they're being used for that anymore. But you can see there's still a lot of materials stored out there. Then as we go over here, we can see cars up here. This is in the southwest area of the site. So they've got them, in some cases, double parked. Other places are single file. Now those kind of look like Pures, but they're not. That's just the silver trim and the light reflecting off of them. We didn't see anything that looked like any Pures over there. A lot more materials stored around the site over there. And then we're going to head back to the north as we're facing west. All right. You can see they've got most of the rubber membrane done. There's still some sections on the south end that need to be done. And then you've got the car tunnel, the paint tunnel area that still needs to be done. There's an entrance over there. It looks like there's definitely concrete down here. I say that just because that man lift right there has wheels on it that will only work on concrete, will not work on dirt. So there's definitely concrete over there. And you can see this area, they've almost got all the areas for the employee parking completed with the aggregate. They're obviously storing a lot of materials still there, but that is definitely progressing, and obviously they need this area to store cars now. We've got the solar panel area over there. Here's a nice good look at the tunnel. There's a couple guys on the roof. There was construction workers there. Not as big as a crew as there normally is. See, the roof material is being stored underneath there. This, I don't know, that could be a staircase or something in the future. I'm not sure what that is. Just a large box going up into the to the roof area. As we pan over to the east, you can see that the two large cranes are both down and not working today. Olivia asked, when the rubber is done, what is next for the roof? The rubber is the top layer, so there may be another layer that they're putting in between. I've seen, depending on the construction type and what they're doing, sometimes you see them putting what looks like giant pieces of cardboard, but they're not, in that area between the metal and the rubber. So usually there's something. I think there still would be something there. It may be insulation. It could be something else. I'm just not that much of a construction guy to know what's there or what it is that they're putting there. Here's the stamping building. The roof decking is almost done there. We've got the building in between the stamping building and the body in white building. That's moving along also. They've got all the floor decking, and then on top they'll do the roof decking right there. And those two buildings will almost look like there's one building, just at different levels once they're completed. Here's a look up the area. We've seen body in whites over here before, once or twice. Here we have Lucid Airs. We've got a truck coming in. We got coolers over here. That looks like the Lucid Pure that we keep seeing, the white one. Let's move this thing out of the way. There we go. Bill Kerr says that his highway assist is working. I've not had the opportunity to use that yet. I'd be interested to see how well it worked. Do I think the gravity will happen in 2024 because of the production ramp? I do think that's very possible. If not large production, a limited production will be out. And someone mentioned earlier about $7 million worth of cars sitting there. There's a whole lot more than $7 million worth of cars sitting there on the entire factory. Is that a DeLorean SUV on the shelf behind you? No, that is a Cybertruck. And it took a dive the other day, and I broke the tailgate off of it. It decided to go spinning off the shelf and went down, crashing. So might have to get some glue and make it no longer a functional tailgate. Yeah, let's start a rumor. You think maybe they'll spell out Lucid on the roof in solar panels? You know, just like Tesla did. I don't think that they will, but let's start that rumor, shall we? Everyone's counting on that to happen. We would like to see more solar panels. The plan does have the entire employee parking lot to be covered in solar panels. When that's going to happen, I don't know the answer to that. That's a stamping building over there. This is the area in white on the floor is the areas where they were digging out and reinforcing the foundation for the stamping machines that we saw taking several months to do. And that is something that takes a long time to do to get all of that in. There's a great deal of foundation work in something like that. Here's the junkyard in the bottom right. And then we can see all the rubber membrane for the roofing over here also in the middle on the right. That'll be going up on the stamping building. Any signs of connecting the body in white building to the south? No signs of that yet. Not sure if that is something that's going to happen anytime soon. If it's going to happen. Plans change all the time, so if it was in the plans, who's to say they haven't been changed? We've got this area over here, which I hadn't noticed yet, but this all has steel on it now. We'll be taking another view of that in a little bit. Right now it's time to look at the cars. And the parking lot's nearly packed. You can see there's a couple places where cars have been pulled out of, and those cars are probably left because there have been cars there. We're assuming they went out on car haulers, but it is possible that they just moved them to other areas on the site. Maybe they're putting them together with cars that need to go on the same car hauler, kind of like pre-sorting them. All right, and then we can see more cars at the top. There's the Lucid Air Pure in white that's flying past us to the left. Then we got a car on the test track, the mini test track, going over the rumble strips right now. And then we can see more cars over here. They've got them everywhere. It's getting kind of dangerous in a sense. You put these cars everywhere, you're going to start losing track of where they're at. You could lose track of where they're at, and you could also, you want to keep them away from the construction workers. The more people that go past them, the more likely someone's going to do something stupid, like back into one or something like that. And you certainly don't want that. All right, and as we're coasting here over to the west, we're going to fly over Tractor Supply again, and the area that will have the future rail spur, which will be right in this section over here one day. Yeah, someone had mentioned hoping that they could utilize some rail cars somewhere else where they can load them on. I think in Berlin or Texas, Tesla was moving the cars about 30 miles to a place where they could connect to, get onto a train. So right here we can see that additional area for a first floor going up on the stamping building. That's a utility building right there. And that's our area where we have cars being stored, and more over here, over there, and then more over here where my mouse is. You see where my mouse is? They've utilized this little intersection for parking more cars here. They've got them doubled up over here. This is like the one area where I would worry about other vehicles going through and damaging a car. Lucid says strong winds with all that dirt might need repainted. No, we have our cars outside all the time, and I've never gotten any sand damage or from blowing dust. We've had vehicles get damaged. I've heard of people getting their vehicles damaged from hail, but we don't get hail that often either. So the cars are relatively safe out here. Just a couple extra days of paint fading. That's it. Would you expect to see more car haulers queuing up ready to go with that many cars in storage, plus 50 plus cars being produced per day? Yes, I would, but we know that other manufacturers are also having trouble with car haulers. It's not the car haulers themselves, because 3 or 4 years ago, all the car manufacturers were shipping out a whole lot more cars than they are now. So it's not a shortage of car haulers, it's a shortage of drivers. So that's what the problem is. So they just need to get them in there. There was a point a couple of weeks ago where we saw like 11 car haulers in one day. So I'm sure that they're going to be able to work through this problem, but you just want to be able to work through this problem in a timely fashion. And once you start falling behind, it becomes even more difficult. But they're going to have to get to a point where they can have enough car haulers to transport out 200 cars made a day, 300 cars made a day. So it's just a matter of ramping up and getting these resources into place. I don't think that the engineers will be using hoverboards to get across the site. I think that they'll use bicycles. That's very possible. Or electric golf carts, things like that, but not hoverboards. I think there'd be too many injuries associated with that, especially with a bunch of old dudes falling off them and breaking stuff, like hips. Polecat says, not being a traditional manufacturer with dealer networks, I can't imagine Lucid would be producing cars that were not spoken for. Yeah, all of these cars are spoken for, and if it turns out that someone doesn't buy it for whatever reason, they back out or their financing falls through or something like that, go ahead and rewind the video. All that's going to happen is it's going to be made available to someone else, either someone on the waiting list, more than likely, or it would be put out there for the public. It happens to Tesla all the time, and if you look on their site, on the pre-ordered cars, you'll see cars pop up there all the time. They don't last very long, but what it is someone who backed out of the deal for whatever reason, and then they just list them for sale at the regular price, and they usually sell very quickly. I think if Lucid had to do that, the same thing would happen. They would sell very quickly. The other option is that someone can swap out the VIN number that they're waiting for and just take something early. But then there's always a chance you're going to get something that you didn't want. Maybe it costs more. Maybe it doesn't have the features you want. So it's always possible, though. Olivia does not trust the parking with the construction workers. Will hit them. Not very careful. I don't trust them either. And it's not to disrespect the construction workers. It's just that things happen. And the more times you have anything happen, the more times that someone goes by, the more likely that the odds are going to go up that something's going to happen. So hopefully they can get those cars out of there. I'd prefer that they get the ones that are in the construction areas out of there and put them in these parking lots here, because I feel like the ones that we're looking at right now are a lot safer than the ones on the west side. Olivia says more than 2,000 cars. I don't know about 2,000. And yet, oh, okay. Olivia, I thought you were saying there's 2,000 cars there. No, yes, I did see that the production numbers were over 2,000. We did see that. They were good numbers. They weren't great, but they are much better than where they were. The part that wasn't great to me is that they had a lot more cars produced than delivered. and we need to see the delivery numbers really increase. BNSF has a large auto transport train yard in El Mirage, wondering if they utilize that at all. I haven't heard about any Lucids being put on trains yet. No one said that they've seen or heard of that happening. No one said that their car is in transport via rail. Nothing like that. So it's something that's possible. El Mirage is not that far. It's probably about 50 miles away, maybe a little bit more, depending on where the rail yard is. But there's also rail yards that are very close to this area. But then again, they're not train car rail yards. But honestly, the train rail literally ends across the street. So I don't know. Maybe it's something that they're working on, and maybe that's why there's not that much of a panic, right? None that we can see with these cars stacking up. Because if they start getting them on rail cars, they're going to start flying out of here. Because what is it? I think I don't remember if it's 8 or 10 cars that each rail car can hold. But it's 2 layers, and I think it's 5 on a level, so I think it's 10 cars. And considering that you can move 20 cars at once, and load 20 cars at once, because they just drive from one to the next, to the next, to the next, you can load up a lot of cars very quickly, and you could empty that lot very quickly. Hey, Brian's here from My Tesla Weekend. Delivery logistics is a whole other competency, and it's tough to schedule without knowing production dates for absolute certain. Well, that's true. The only thing is, they know what they got sitting there, and they know that they got to get them moved quickly. Guess we'll see Nikola tray haulers at the site soon. All right, guys, I'm going to be honest about Nikola tray hauling these cars, or any other type of car hauler. Probably something you'll never see. Nikola trays are not made for hauling cars. The car haulers typically will get to the maximum weight that that is allowed, and Nikola trays cannot carry that. So forget about the range not being very far. Even for short hauls, you're not going to be able to carry as many cars as you would if you just had a regular diesel truck. Nikola trays, Tesla semis, none of them are going to be able to carry this kind of load. So you got to keep that in mind. Even though they're going to reach max weight, they're going to be overweight by the time you put 6 cars on it. So we got to be real about that. The Nikola trays, they'll never be hauling heavy equipment. They're just not designed for that. It's not their purpose. Jerry says, Lucid has 850 cars completed on site, ? If Lucid Vision's saying that he counted that many, it could be. It's very possible. I don't see that number being far off, but we did not count these cars. Mr. Vision, did you say that you counted 850, or are you estimating? Brian says 10 to 15 per rail car. Okay. Well, I was right when I said 10. Kind of right. Mike M., thank you for the 1111, signifying the horsepower, I believe, of a Lucid Air, one of the editions. Could Lucid ask their customers to come and collect from the factory? I suppose they could. I don't know if it's worth the efforts that you would have to put behind that to get a team together to start doing a PDI on the vehicles, because they do that when they get to the showroom. They'll do a PDI, pre-delivery inspection. They're going to check everything out. But you'd have to get a team there to do that, and then start coordinating that with people, and then giving them access to the site, and so forth and so on. It probably would be best if they delivered it to like the Scottsdale studio and had them delivered from there. It wouldn't take much to get them up to the Scottsdale studio. Do you think they give better guidance than 6,000 to 7,000? I do not think that there is a snowball's chance Snowball's chance in hell of that happening. Reason I say that is because that only sets them up for failure. If for some reason they go over that, great. If they raise their expectations, it's just going to shoot themselves in the foot. It would be better to overachieve or to go over than to go under because you raised the goal. The only reason to do that would be to inflate your stock price for the short term. And that really has no value. Lucid should offer a discount to customers who are willing to pick up at the factory. You know, it's funny because there's other car companies. I think it might have been Ford or Chevy, where you could pick up your car at the factory, but you still had to pay the shipping fee. It wasn't something that you could get out of. Because if you think about it, there's so many people that would pick up at the factory. Talk about like the F-150 factory. There's one in Dearborn and there's one in the southeast. But you got all those guys over there. They just go pick up their Fords there and not have to pay the $1,400 to have it shipped. And there'd be a line of people trying to pick up their cars. So that's something that I don't think will ever happen. Jerry says, Bear, thanks for all your work on Lucid. I'm buying you a steak and beer when I'm in Casa Grande. Well, that would be awesome. Thank you. Lucid said that was an estimate of his 850. All right. Well, someone needs to go out and do that and start counting. Photos End, thank you for the super chat. He says, thanks for the awesome videos, man. It's great to see the hard work of the AZ team. Yes, it is good to see more and more work getting complete and watching this factory come along. Roger T says, tri-level auto racks will hold 21. Question is, will a tri-level work for a Lucid Air? I'm not sure what vehicles will fit into a tri-level and what the height restrictions are. So I don't know. I'd be happy with the 2-level. Arne Munson says, Lucid starting delivering cars in Europe today. I thought they had already started some already, but I don't know. All right, here's another view of all the cars that are in the waiting area. So quickly looking at this, I believe the top row, let's go back a little bit. See if we can, that just went in just a little quick. Let's go back a little bit. All right, this is hard to see, but each one of these rows up here will hold, I think it's 22 cars. Now, there's a couple spots where cars are missing. So that's 44, 66, 88, plus another 66. So that's about 150-ish. This has got to be, I think this was 10 in a row. So 10, 20, 30. 50, so it's got to be close to 200 right there. I don't remember what the count is on this, but it's more than 22. Let's say it's 30, 60, 90, 120. Let's see. So, yeah, I'm saying we're probably looking at an easy 400 cars right here. Easy 400. And there's more cars up here. And then there's more cars parked around the side of the building. And then there's more up front. And then there's more in the back. I have not heard anything on my Lucid Air, by the way. Someone had posted something about a Lucid Air Pure, saying that they were going to start production in Q1, but because of whatever reasons, might not be coming out until Q2. But I haven't gotten anything from Lucid regarding my reservation. Let's see. All early reservations pre-July 2021 are being asked to reserve, and more are coming week by week. I am August of 2021. All right, well, I was 2022, so I'm not in that. Could be around 100 million in inventory at the factory. Yeah, there easily could be. If there's 800 cars, there's definitely 800 million. You also got to remember that they had a large difference in delivered cars and production cars for last quarter, which those cars probably are not part of those. Those cars might be the ones going over to Europe, which Masoud just mentioned. 1,000 cars that not delivered there on their way to Europe. So those will hit this quarter. And these cars, I would assume that almost every one of these cars that you're looking at are going to hit. I can't imagine one of these cars sitting here for another 2 months. We're trying to push 65 cars per day. Brosef, you say that as if you work for Lucid, because you're saying we are. I mean, we are as far as investors. Well, we want to push 1,000 cars per day, but you're saying we are, as in you might work there. Interesting. All right. So we are looking over the site again, looking at some more of the cars. You can see they're pretty much everywhere in that area, which has been the case for a while. And then we see more cars lined up over here. Let's see, that's 8, 12, 15, 17, 19, 20, 25. There's like 25 like right here. There's another 8. There's another 8. That's probably like another 25. And then we got more cars over here. Oh, let's zoom in and take a look. Martin, nobody knows what they have for reservations right now. The only time they announce how many reservations they have is during the earnings report. So we will find that out hopefully next week. Dream Drive Pro is BS to have for 9K, but I understand from the profit point of view for stocks. So would you compare Dream Drive to autopilot on a Tesla? Because that comes free with the Tesla. And $12,000 for full self-driving, which is still in beta, is pure profit. And, well, it's not. I mean, they got engineers making it. But it's still not worth anything near that because it's not functional. I mean, I would not pay for the full self-driving, and I have not paid for it on any of my Teslas because it's not a complete package, and even if it was, I wouldn't pay that much money to have the car drive itself. See, and Brosef has not said anything. Oh, Brosef just smiled and winked. Okay. Yeah. Gonna have to see what I can figure out from that Brosef thing there. Okay. That would be interesting if he did, but that could be anyone, to be honest with you. Let's all get our CDL and meet at the factory. Listener says enhanced autopilot. The difference between enhanced autopilot and autopilot is that you get summon, which is crap. I did a video on that like a year and a half ago, which did crap, but it does not work. And it also gives you the ability to change lanes using just your turn signals, and the car will do the rest, which works flawlessly. Every time I've used it, I had one car that had enhanced, and it was great, and I loved it, but I can't pay $6,000 to automatically change lanes. But that worked really good. There is no difference between that. There is no other difference between enhanced autopilot and autopilot besides the summon and the changing of lanes. So, and my Hyundai Ioniq 5 has that. When you're in whatever they call it, their type of autopilot, Hyundai autopilot, you can turn on your turn signal and it will change the lanes for you about 25% of the time. The other 75%, if you turn on your right turn signal, it will go left or it will just cross over the line. It's horrible, horrible, horrible. I can't begin to tell you how bad it is. Bill Carr, thank you for the super chat. And he says, thanks for the flyovers. They are a valuable tool for investors. And I appreciate you doing the super chat. And I'm going to restart this as long as we're still chatting. Hey, Bear, how do you think the economic downturn will affect Lucid? Not as much as others. I think people who can afford these cars are going to be affected less by an economic downturn. I mean, don't get me wrong, they will be. But if you're buying a car that costs over $100,000, $140,000, you better not be like just barely able to buy it. You shouldn't be buying the car if you're just barely able to. But I know that there are people who do that. I do stuff like that all the time. So Lucid has to be number 3 or number 4 on EV sedan production. Well, there is actually a very limited amount of sedans that are EVs when you stop and think about it. You've got the Model S, the Model 3, the Y and the X are SUVs. The Ioniq 5 is considered an SUV. The Mach-E is considered an SUV. The Hummer is an SUV or a truck. Ford Lightning's a truck. Most of them are considered SUVs, so it's not going to be very hard to get to that level of sedan production, being number 3 or number 4 in sedan production. So I don't know what am I missing? Electric sedans. I can't think of any. Here's a scoop for you. Rivian, their Rivian delivery van. The other day we were delivering a truck and happened to be by the Amazon hub in Chandler, Arizona, and we saw 3 electric Rivian vans. So we decided to sneak into the Amazon hub, and we didn't sneak in. Neo cars are only made in China. i4, oh yeah, the BMW's got a couple. Thank you. I just never see them, so I don't count them. So we drove onto the parking lot at Amazon. Oh, the EQS, that's going to be limited production. It's not going to be hard to beat Mercedes on that. So we drove onto the Amazon parking lot to where all their trucks were. We saw another 11 Rivian electric vans, and we saw about 40 to 50 easy electric charging stations for the Rivian vans. So we went there when most of the vans were out delivering. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning already. So most of the vans had already started their routes. One day we might go there a little bit earlier. But yeah, there was spots and setups for easy 50 vans there. So might have to do that one day and stop by. But yeah, we count between the ones that we saw, the ones that were parked there, I think we were at 13 or 14 Rivian vans. Okay, Porsche has a couple of sedans, but they also don't produce a lot of them, at least not in the United States, or sell a lot in the U.S. Right now, because of in regards to the downturn, there's such a shortage of cars that almost every car that's being made is being sold fairly quickly. Inventory is very scarce. Even if there was a downturn, it wouldn't make the numbers any worse for Ford or for Chevy. Lucid's still selling every car that they build because that's how they do it. Martin, you're asking how many cars Lucid plans on producing every day when the new factory opens. I don't know how much per day, but they're looking at a capacity of 350,000. So that's a little bit less than 1,000 per day if they were working every day. EQS had 1,700 deliveries in USA in quarter 3. So that's right around what Lucid was. So Lucid should be able to beat that. I was at a Mercedes dealership yesterday. I was getting a part for a car, and of course I went through the inventory and I looked at everything. They had an EQS there. It was a EQS 550, fully loaded, black, beautiful, $145,000. You know, it's a lot of money, and so are these Lucid Airs, but there's a market for them because they're selling them. Now the thing is, if I had a choice between a Lucid and a Mercedes, um, I would have to drive them both. I mean, I've driven the Lucid Air, but I'm spending $140,000 on either one of these two vehicles. First of all, I've got to look at the Lucid Air's got better range, and range is a big thing for me. Um, but I just absolutely love the way Mercedes drive. They have just a distinct feel to them, and they ride so much better than just about any other car I've been in. Even the cheap ones ride ride really well. DCSR has seen the Rivian in East Mesa. Yeah, they're probably all coming out of that Chandler hub. Nicholas says Lucid Air versus EQS, easy decision. Well, I know this is a Lucid channel, but before I buy something, I'm still gonna taste them both. You've got to, you've got to. Um, and Lucid says his last Amazon package was delivered by a Rivian EV van. So Rivian is getting those things out, and they're just popping up everywhere. So, before we get moving on, because we're going to get moving on soon, um, we are going to be having our next live stream of the Nikola site Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. One of these days coming up in the next week, as soon as we can fit it into our schedule. Monday, probably not. I know we got a lot of pickups to do. Um, so we're going to get that done early this week. Tuesday we have fast charging with B&B, which is me and Brian, who said he had to go for my Tesla weekend, where we talk about all things EV, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So please join us there for that. And then later next week we will be doing this site once again. Jailblazer said, dude, this company's technology is next level. Better than Tesla. Second comers rule. Yahoo first, Google second, Pete's Coffee first, Starbucks second, Tesla first, Lucid second. All right, I see your point. You know what? Tesla and Lucid are going to both do well. Tesla's already doing very, very well. They are a cash machine. So they will continue to constantly just print money. And Lucid, once they get their stuff in order, they will too. Obviously you guys know this. Tesla had the same growing pains that Lucid did. Lucid's not going to make money for quite some time. But they'll make money before Tesla did. But at the same time, Tesla was groundbreaking in the sense that they had to get people to first buy an electric car in the first place. They had to prove it first. So one of the things I don't like about Mercedes is the trim on them seem to fall apart very quickly. I've got two Mercedes right now, 2018 and a 2017, and I had to replace some of the trim parts already because they're faded. Some of the overlay on the of the chrome was already peeling. Things like that. But these cars, 5 years old, they still ride phenomenally. But some of the trim pieces, a little bit better work could have been done. So, but I still do love the cars, not the price. We'll see, and we'll have to see how others handle in a couple years also. All right, guys. Well, we're going to get ready to wrap it up here. We've been on way past my bedtime. I'm going to sleep early these days. So I want to thank everyone for being here. I want to thank my Patreons. I want to thank everybody who dropped me a super chat today. I do appreciate it. And we're going to be back again, like I said, early this week with the Nikola one. And we also have a Nikola video coming out very shortly. So if you guys are seeing this for the first time, just go ahead and rewind, because this is our third time going through the Flyover video. I want to thank all of you for being here again. I'm